welcome. We don't have a lot of time, so we want to jump right in. And we have the great Brandon London with us, former Super Bowl champion. Does a ton of media for every single sports in the New York metro area, from hockey to basketball to football. Football's probably tough for me, especially being a former Giant. But yeah, and I was saying earlier, I saw him at the Giants Fan Fest earlier in the year, and he's jumping around. There's nobody more enthusiastic, especially when he's down on that stage. I've been to a couple of the Giants games. If you go to a Giants game, you see the guy at the DJ booth, the guy next to the DJ booth talking to the crowd and getting people hyped up in between. That's him right there. But obviously, he does a lot of stuff with the news and media. I think you used to be doing stuff way back in Dallas too. I don't remember if that was correct, but
yeah, Dallas and Denver. Yep.
Dallas and Denver. But he's here now in the New York City area doing all the stuff for all the New York teams. Without further ado, welcome, Brandon.
What's up, man? Long time. You guys, me and Dave go back since what? That's back when I was in like Canada, man, and I was, running some camps for you in NUC. Got a chance to drive all over pretty much the world because I was on the West Coast as well. So I was able, not done so much the world, but like the United States and stuff, Arizona, Vegas, all over the place, man. So, to tell you the truth, Dave, I got a lot of that because it was kind of like a performance for the NUC camps as well. You can't just line up, have, 50, 60, 100 something kids out there and you're just like, oh, touch the line. Come on. It's all about that passion. That passion's got to come out. And when you're getting a paycheck to teach, coach football, or to hype up a crowd, or to do player interviews, you kind of have to bring it. So it's a lot. It's easy, but at the same time, like back in the day when I'd be nervous to be on camera, I would use NUC camps to kind of work my spiel and work on just being in front of a lot of people and being yourself and bringing the passion. So, I got to say thank you for that, for not only, allowing me to coach football and work with kids and all, but at the same time, let me kind of practice per se. It was live reps per se. So appreciate that, my guy.
Absolutely. And your enthusiasm was phenomenal. When you used to do the drills, when we get the guys hyped in the beginning. And it's what I'm saying. I saw that enthusiasm. I've been to, a couple games, of course. I only go now just when I get to sit into one of those the VIP, whatever you call it, areas. But when I go there, when I get those opportunities, I get invited to go there a couple times a year. Sit there and I see you going, and I'm like, wow, like that's you always had that energy and excitement, and you always brought that to everything you do. So it's no coincidence that you bring that same enthusiasm to what you do today and your excitement. I almost think that when you're on like set or you're doing interviews, you have so much enthusiasm that I see it spewing out of you, and you probably have to keep it calm, right? Because you have to be calm when you're interviewing people. So it's that passion that leads to great success. And you really transitioned to it. And a little quick backdrop, because we don't have a ton of time, because I do want to ask you a couple questions. But it's really interesting because you and EJ Barthel and a lot of the guys that worked those events back in the day, and obviously the players, right, have gone on to great things. So it's really, really like amazing, because back then I thought myself as a young guy, right, and even though I really wasn't, I was in my 30s already, but I thought of myself as a young guy. That's kind of how I always was. And it's amazing to see all the branches of success. It's not just, obviously it's you and it's EJ, but Coach Brady's a quarterback coach. He runs his own like QB stuff. I've had him on, and he does his own training, and this guy's doing that, and this guy's doing. Listen, Medee Williams, I always tell people this. Medee Williams is a QB trainer, and he would confirm this. He did the first QB training with me. I had a guy back in 2002, a kid that wanted to get QB training, and I had Medee do stuff for me, QB training. That's like, you don't know how the network that you start to reach when you do these things, and it's amazing. So it's great to do these interviews and talk to people. Well,
It's almost like you got your own coaching tree per se, like, Bill Parcells and those guys have their coaching tree, and then it goes down. Romeo Crennel goes and gets a job somewhere, and then, someone comes up from Romeo Crennel. You have it as well, man. Like you set the blueprint, you put in all that work and kind of set the blueprint. And then like throughout the course of the years, everything started to kind of get individualized per se. Right. And like other things where people were able to kind of, instead of it being more regional thing, kids were able to go locally and all. But right. A lot of people got their kids.
The market changed.
What's that?
I said the market changed, right? Like just that general, like, and now with social media and all that stuff, it kind of just like, it took it from, every spot now had it, right? Because I mean, you look at social media, everybody's got a trainer, and it's a different trainer, right? It's not the same name all over the place. So it's just, it just changed.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, I mean, we tip our hat to you, because you set it up, you got everybody going per se. And again, you set the blueprint. So, kudos.
And the great thing is when you figure out, like, and how it is in business, you're always trying to figure out the next thing that works for you, the new trend. And like the YouTube channel has taken off for us. We'll be at 1 million subscribers before the end of the year. And we were at about, I would say 50K before the new year. So we've gone almost 1 million subscribers in 1 year. That's because of, I think, the set. It's like it takes many, many years to become an overnight sensation, right? It's all the years of doing camps and building relationships and running events and doing all those things that, you have a lot of people that you could actually bring on that you actually know that want to talk with you. So that's the great thing. And that's how it all works, right? We'll figure out how to help each other get to where they want to go. So that's the beauty of it. I wanted to ask you because, obviously you were Super Bowl champion with the Giants. And you were a very, very successful athlete yourself. People who don't know, Brandon is 6'4". Actually, you look leaner now than when you were played. You really slimmed out. Probably played at about 205, 210 as a receiver.
212. Yeah.
Big, huge receiver, very athletic, and then taking that and transitioning. You talked a little bit about it, but transitioning into media, which is so many people want to do that, right? Yeah. But they have no idea as athletes how to go and transition into that. Talk about kind of your genesis of that whole thing in media.
Well, that all started up in Canada. When I played up in Canada, 2012, I was having a monster season up there. Bucket tear my meniscus, 4 games left. And so I get it repaired instead of scoped. I'm done the rest of the year. The following week, after I get my surgery and all, I'm having to go out to practice, and I'm standing out in Canada on crutches. It's freaking -2 degrees outside Montreal. So I go to Mark Trestman, who was our head coach at the time, and I go, look, if I come in, get my rehab done early, get my workout done, I can sit in team meetings. When you guys go to practice, can I enroll in Montreal School of Performing Arts to start acting classes, on-camera training? Without it, go. Because he knew it.
Right.
So that started something, and then I moved out to LA, started taking on-camera classes with Marky Costello of Become a Host. So the next season, when I went back to Canada, I started shooting my own web series, Jersey Off, Suit On. And it would be about me, the cultured athlete, and the cultured athlete lifestyle. So I'd bring teammates to fashion shows that I was already walking in. I was doing commercials up there. I was very going to events. I was very much on the scene and immersing myself within the culture. But I didn't want it to be like, oh, B. London's doing this, B. London's doing that. So I bring my teammates with me. I had one of our fullbacks, Darren Diedrich, rest in peace. He was my camera guy. I just knew I wanted to do it, and I knew I was going to cross over into it. But like Michael Strahan told me my rookie year, which I didn't listen to till later on, was you always got to take care of the football. So once the television aspect of it started to kind of blow up and I could see myself doing it, I kind of slacked off on the football aspect of it because I was like, you know what? I probably only got 1.5 seasons left. And then I'm done and I'm moving to Hollywood and I'm going to be Will Smith. But no, it doesn't work like that because like you said, it takes years. It takes 10 years to be considered an overnight success. So I was thinking it was like an Entourage episode to where it was like within the third episode, I've got Aquaman, we've done Queens Boulevard, all that. No, that's a span of like 6 years.
It's a long time.
You know, it's a long time. So I kind of had to learn the hard way because I could have played a couple more extra years and I could have possibly finessed it and got back to the NFL and then made a name in the NFL, and that would have made it easier to cross over. But, you know, it's easier to connect the dots when you're looking back. When I took the NFL broadcast boot camp in 2016, they weren't even going to let me in it because I only had like 1-2 accredited seasons in the NFL, but I had already showed them a body of work that I had already done on my own. So it's one of those things where I've always been that type of person to where if I see it and I believe I can do it, I'm going to find a way to get my way through the freaking door. And so one thing leads to a next. I retired from the CFL in 2014 in the middle of training camp because 2 days before that, there was a show called Hollywood Today Live. They saw my reel on YouTube, flew me out there. I tested for the network, completely bombed it, couldn't read a prompter, didn't know what camera I was looking at, but they loved my energy. They just love that energy. So they hit my agent up, my TV like manager-ish at the time. I'm like a week and a half in camp. I'm starting. I have 12 catches in the 2-a-day practices. And I go at the end of the last practice, I'm crying in stretch down line because I knew I didn't want to play football no more. I wanted to go back out to LA and get things started. So whether it's football kids or whether it's you trying to get into TV or whatever, one, you got to have the juice. Two, you got to have an insane amount of confidence within yourself to almost to where people think you're crazy because it's like, you didn't get this gig. You didn't get this school didn't offer. Okay, you didn't get this amount of playing time, but you still got to think you're the man because once I got that one opportunity and I got an agent out there in LA, some lady found me where I was teaching gym classes at this place called Drive Cardio out in Malibu. And this lady, big time a lawyer who just loved my energy, loved my spiel, introduced me to Babette Perry of Innovative Artists. She took the meeting, loved me, reached out to the Giants and were like, hey, you know, do you remember Brendan London from, you know, and they were like, yeah, we love Brendan. You know, we'll fly him out here to audition. I sucked at prompter, but I took a whole year and a half doubling up on classes, on camera classes. I was sleeping on my boy's couch in a pool house in Van Nuys so I can cut down on rent so I could take extra classes. So when I got to the training facility with the Giants, and there goes that prompter, the thing that held me back for so long. When I got that opportunity, I knocked it off the park. And then one thing led to a next. I've done 3 national television shows, one in Dallas, one in Denver called Daily Blast Live, where I was speaking on things from politics to Barbara Streisand to entertainment. So a lot of athletes, they can do the X's and O's of football. Yeah. But I, through my course of my life, and Dave, you know who my father is and kind of the opportunities I've been awarded to in life and the rooms that I've been able to be in, I can speak on more things than just football. So instead of me looking at like, who's somebody right now, looking at like David Carr or somebody or Steve Smith as competition, I'm looking at the Michael Strahans, the Nate Burlesons on the level that I want to get to, you know, one day. But again, that within itself takes an extreme level of confidence and an extreme level of work ethic to get to. And I ain't backing down from nothing.
Yeah, I think that's the key is consistency. That's the hardest part for people to get, like, and when I mean consistency, it's like every day be willing to do stuff in a space, because it is very hard when you're in the middle of it to see where it can go. But when you keep stacking it and you stack it and then you look up like, you know, a year later or 2 years or 3 years later, it's unbelievable. And also knowing that it can come to an end, right? You've done different shows. They've come to an end. You move on from that. Like you're like, oh my God, I invested, you know, living in the now to a certain extent, like be as, you know, like coaches always talk about this, obviously now, especially with the transfer portal, where you're at, you do the best job you can where you're at if you want other things to proceed in the future, right? Both coaching, now playing, right? Do the best job where you're at. Same thing what you're doing, like whatever it is you're doing now, if you do the best job you can there and you're consistent with it, like you said, you don't know what opportunities are going to come about. You have no idea who's watching. Like listen, when I'm in, you know, I get invited occasionally to, you know, one of the games and I go into the VIP and you're in there, then you know this because you know how the suites are there at I always want to say Giant Stadium. I don't even know what it's called. MetLife, I guess.
MetLife,
yeah. When you're in those booths, like it's a company that has all those people, and you're invited by someone, and you don't know who you're meeting, right? And next thing you know, oh, this is the CEO of XYZ company, and you're talking to, you're in the same thing. Yeah. So, and then when those people are watching, like they go and see something happens, and they go, oh, who was that person I was talking to? So talk about like how you've been able to really leverage your network to help you grow. Like, and it doesn't matter how small it is, right? But leverage your network to grow. Talk about that and the importance of it.
You know, when people say, oh, Brendan Lundy won a Super Bowl, or there's people who are like, Brendan Lundy won a Super Bowl. And then there's that other end who know Brendan Lundy was on the practice roster of that Super Bowl. I could give zero bleeps anymore about people who are just like, oh, you were just on the practice roster. I've leveraged that into being the face of the New York Giants entertainment. They just flew me to Germany. I was the team got there on Friday. I was there since Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. I was doing events all over Germany. I have security taking me all over the place. I'm signing autographs. Dave, I'm playing with house money. And I tell people that all the time because I wouldn't have gotten into the door if through my practice squad year, I was just walking around telling myself a story, upset, like I should be playing over Plex. I should be playing over Monty Toomer. Your ass getting sent home if you're not showing up every day, putting that face on and acting like, you know what, I'm going to be ready for that opportunity when it does come. So there's a thing to where it's like, it's like if you kind of get caught at looking at where you are, oh, I'm just a special teamer. Oh, I'm just third on the depth chart. And you don't still try and outwork, one, the people you can see in front of you, two, the invisible man. The invisible man is a mother bleeper because if you're not working, like we said, that coach, that's your position coach, is going to be an OC one day somewhere else. He's going to be able to either hit that button to send that elevator up, or he's going to hit that button to close the door. That kid doesn't work. Why would I bring you to Texas when you don't work at William and Mary? You know what I'm saying? Like it's that sort of thing. The same thing in TV. Why would I give you a job at CBS Sports or ESPN and you're not handling the platform or the media platform that you're at now? People get so caught up now, especially with the social media area, to where if your present doesn't match up with someone else's present, you look at yourself as a failure. And that makes absolutely no sense because like my dad used to say, you know, William & Mary head coach right now was at Virginia, Howard. He's been all over the place. Boston College, Texans. He used to say the same people you see on the way up, the same people you see on the way down. So that's another thing. Like these kids get caught up so much, and it's like, oh, he's got this highlight video and he signed with Notre Dame and all this. I should be doing this. Well, I'm not going to work. My coach, blame it on the coaches. Nah, bro. Like you got to be ready for that one opportunity you might get. And when you get that chance, you better run with it. So to get back to your question about leveraging your network and net worth and everything, every single person or hand you shake is somebody you might need in your corner one day. And that's another way that I've climbed up the ranks within the New York Giants and all. I'll be on a bus with family members. Like when we went to London in 2022, I'm on the bus with it's a family team bus. And I'm just talking to people, just being myself. I got people laughing, XYZ. Fly back. A week later, I go into the facility and I'm just grabbing some food and stuff. And I won't say who, but someone high up there like stopped me and was like, Brandon. And I'm like, trying to think in my head, oh my gosh, like, did I do something wrong? Like, am I in trouble?
What did I do, right? Like, because we're so quick to think negative, right? Isn't that brutal too?
Office, like, I really want to thank you. You had a great conversation with, my family. They were raving about you. They really like you. You're an amazing guy. You're an awesome guy, man. Proud to have you on board with us or having you back with us. Now, just imagine if I would have been like brushed them off or trying to be like super cool, like
big time
sort of thing. But you never know. Like, you never know. It's that blessing or that setback could come from anywhere, and you got to be ready for it. Like, you have to be ready for that moment.
It's super key because what you said is right. You don't know, and it's funny because you tell in coaching, you tell kids that, right? Like, you don't know who's watching. You never know. Like I always like to tell kids when I'm coaching, I see everything. Okay. And if I don't see it, somebody else is tasked on the staff with seeing what I don't see. Right. So, and it's funny because kids, it takes a long time for them to process it. Sometimes they don't process it until they become adults. But the earlier you do process that, the better opportunity you have to be able to be successful. And I mean, like, literally, the earlier you process it, like if you start to get it as a kid, right now, I'm not talking about 6 years old, but like 11, 12 years old, you start to understand that then it's going to help you as you start to go through, because everything all the channels of what's going on in sports and the world in general happens a lot earlier. Because I think about, and you probably think about this too, like, I don't think I started to understand a lot of these things until I got to be near the end of my college career. That was when I was starting to understand stuff from that standpoint. Now, I always understood working hard and all that kind of, that was ingrained in me. My father ingrained that in me. It wasn't about working hard, but understanding like how things work, right? And understanding like what expectations were, understanding like relationships with your coaches, like going in, like I didn't understand that until later in my career. I remember the kind of light bulb that went off with my father when I was not happy with what was going on when I was a starting fullback. And by the way, Brandon played at UMass, same conference as what I played in the UConn at the time. But that whole changeover, and Holtz didn't really like me as a fullback. He just didn't like me, as a fullback. Like, I didn't fit, right? I was a starter, but it didn't matter. So my father's like, why don't you just go in and meet with him and ask him, like, can you go to the defensive side of the ball? I had never talked to my coaches outside of them, like, coming over saying good job. I always thought, man, I'm that good. They're gonna see it and play it.
Yeah.
Holtz, he never thought about that until I came in there. He said, I think it's a great idea. I said, my only request is that I get an opportunity. I don't want to go over there. Then you're going to bury me on the depth chart forever. He said, we'll get you an opportunity. You got to be able to take advantage of it. It doesn't mean you're going to start out as one. You're going to start out at the bottom again. And he did. And he came through on that and ended up starting, right? So, and playing very well. But I never, like, that was like I was 20, 21 already at that point. The earlier you could think about those things, I could have gone into college and understood that from the get-go, built relationships with my coaches, just like you're building relationships with agents and management with the Giants and those kind of things. The players, obviously, right? Like, I watch how you interact with the players at the preseason thing. I always forget what they call it, but with the Giants, like, you have a great relationship. Like, you show respect to them, but you have your job that you have to do. And with the crowd, like, it's amazing because that has to be incredibly tough. Like, people, all they care about, the people there and this is the truth, Derek, because I was there. And we actually left because it was such a long time. We left before Eli actually got on there, but which don't tell my son. He was pissed off at me about it. But it was like we had a game or something the next day. And but what he had to do, he had to keep the crowd into it for a very long time.
Yeah.
Before they actually came on stage. I was actually thinking about you. You know what I mean? Like my goodness. How does he do that? Like,
yeah, he's the MC, right? Like, you got to entertain, you got to keep them interacting, you got to, you know what I mean? You got to kind of dangle the bait a little bit so that they continue to kind of, you know, and ultimately, like, you have to bring that energy just as much, because even though you're feeling just like they're feeling, right? Like, when is this going to happen? Like, but you have to go out there and, like you said, perform. And, you know, sometimes, yeah, you got to play it. You got to play a part, right? You got to act a little bit. But when you have that drive to be good and all that stuff, like, look, ultimately, like, you're around the game that you were so passionate about and that you loved for it. So, and then you found another love in media and all of those types of things. And you've just kind of combined both of them. Like, I'm sure you tell people all the time, like, I don't really work. You know what I mean? Like, you love what you're doing, man. Like, absolutely. I mean, what gets better than that, you know? So I think a lot of our, like, the kids that we deal with and all the kids we coach, like, you know, it's a job for them, right? Like, somebody's pushing them to do it. And the real great ones that we see that excel and do really, really well, not just in football itself, but like life, it's because they thoroughly enjoy what they're doing. Yeah. And I think that's just like such a key point.
I think for me as a kid, you know, and especially like I always look back and I'm like, why did this take so long for the light to click on? Because here I am. I got the recruiting coordinator for the University of Virginia is my father. D-line coach is my father. When he's writing out the letters, you know, you guys used to get that blue book, that blue book, and he used to have things highlighted. Here's the guys. I would have to write the address, name and addresses of at least 200 kids that he was, and sign his autograph, his signature to them, fold the papers, put it in lick, have it all done for me to go out that night when I was in high school. Now, what used to get me, and then what he used to say to me was like, how does that make you feel that you're writing the letters to guys who are getting recruited by D1 schools and you want to go D1 and you're writing the letters and your name's not on there? You're not getting the grades. I was working hard and all, but I wasn't playing the game within the game. My dad used to always say, how does that make you feel? To me, I was like, man, I'm getting $40 tonight. I'm going out. I'm hanging out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be in the weight room the next day. Yeah, I'd be with Chris Hovan or Billy McMullen or Matt Schwab catching passes and all that the next day. But I wasn't playing the game within the game. I wasn't getting my grades. That's why I had to go to the Fork Union. I missed out on, you know, D1 scholarships and all. And even when I was at Fork Union, you know, Coach Schuman, I saw you guys were talking with him the other day or recently. He would have told you they almost kicked me out. They almost kicked me out because I was still being a knucklehead and all that. So one thing that for me, it was like, and what I tell kids now is like, the faster you learn that being boring is the real flex.
Being boring is cool, man. Like figure that out, bro.
Cool. The routine is cool. The faster you learn that, you're going to be deadly. You're going to be absolutely deadly because everybody else, they play for the applause. They play to be the flash in the pan, but you're Kirby Smart, you're Lane Kiffin, I don't want flash in the pan. I got a mortgage. I got a family to feed. Why would I want a flash in the pan? I want that kid that I know on that 3rd and 12. We haven't ran this play or visited this play in a while, but on that 3rd and 12, you're going to get to 13 and 14 on your depth of your route.
Yep.
Because that's what we've been practicing over and over and over again, and not come back with some excuse to why you couldn't get your depth, why you couldn't apply a championship detail because you looked it over because you wanted to be cool in TikTok, that sort of thing. So it's like there's no cheat code. I guess that's the algorithm to success. As soon as you learn how to be boring and feel okay with it, watch how much fun you have on the back end when the success comes. when the
Absolutely.
success comes. I can't imagine.
And that's really hard, right? It's really hard for the kids now in this era of now, right? With social media and instant gratification, all those kind of things, for those kids to kind of bite the bullet when everything is going against that. And you know, how many times we hear trust the process, but like trust it, right? And then that back end, when you're looking back at those cool dudes or the guys that had all the clicks and all that other whatever, you know what I mean? Now you're that much further. And like you said, those are the guys that, you know, are sitting there going, wow, maybe being cool wasn't the way to go, right? Or maybe I should have been boring, right? Like just hold that standard to where maybe you are a little different than everybody else, but it's going to work out in the long run because that's ultimately what's going to get you where you want to go. And I think it's a lot of kids they just don't get it, right? And we didn't get it, right? For the most part, until something went off in us and we just wish we got it sooner.
Yeah, and then I just remember like being at NUC camps and stuff, and it's like, oh, that kid's he's a 5-star, he's a 5-star or whatever. And I would tell the kids who was like, they weren't high on the radar, but they had themselves a solid day. They did everything right. They're catching, you're just not as fast, you're not as big just yet. I say, hey, look at that kid, put his name up on your wall somewhere or whatever.
Just wait. Get his autograph now, brother.
I can't imagine how many kids, like with me growing up. So writing those names on those lists, I saw some of those kids at pro days. Right. I saw them in training camps. I saw one-on-one in preseason. And I'm just sitting there. What I'm about to do to you is not personal. This is young Brandon London, who you got all the hype, you got all the glory, and I just went and worked. I saw you on Max Preps. I saw you, Dave Schuman, and all the NUCs. I saw you, bro. You were thrown in my face constantly back then. So right now, this is not personal. This is just business. But young Brandon London has been up at 5 a.m. for a long time working. Young Brandon London has skipped out on a lot of parties. Young Brandon London ran track at UMass, skipped class, almost got kicked out and all at UMass because Brandon London has been prepared himself for this moment. And it's like, if revenge shouldn't be the motivational factor, revenge shouldn't be it. But for some people, it's proving people wrong and all that. That is.
No, listen, that can be a piece of it. You don't want that to be the main part of it. But you know what, dude? The more things I can throw onto this fire to make this thing go, like, look, you're talking about a 5'8" dude who wasn't very fast. But look, man, I knew I had to outwork everybody, and I had to watch more film than everybody, right? So that was my fuel. Was that? Hell yeah, I used when somebody else's name was in the paper over mine. Oh, he's better than him, and he's this and he's that. Like, of course you use that. You don't want it to be the main thing, but anything you can throw on that fire to fuel it, I'm going to use.
Because there's going to be days where even that revenge isn't going to get you out of bed.
Correct.
Not being selected is not going to get you out of bed. And like,
you need more than just that.
I got an 18-month-old right now, and like he was coughing yesterday morning, and mom wanted to let him sleep before she took him before I took him to school and stuff. I go, no, we got a routine. Coughing ain't gonna get him out of practice. Coughing ain't gonna get him out of a game. Brandon, he's 18 months. You'll understand one
Gotta
day.
start now. You'll get it. You'll get it. I'm in the same boat, bro. I got a 16-month-old. Same thing.
It's got to start now. The culture has to be embedded right now, because that day where it's like, oh, Junior's not feeling well, but not Saban, but DeBoer is going to be he's going to be at practice today. What do you mean you want to pull him from school like off of a cough? Yeah, absolutely out of your mind. Get your butt up. Let's go. We've been training for this. We've been working for this. But a lot of people don't want to hear that, man. A lot of people, let them have fun. You know what's fun? Being able to give your mom money each month. That's fun.
Yep. Winning is fun.
Winning is fun. Do what you want. Being able to go out to eat and be like, shoot, I can order that steak or that lobster
and feel good about it.
You know what I'm saying? Like those on the back end, again, it's kind of pausing like temporary success for a long-term, a game and stuff. But again, these kids are 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. Again, like we said, the light clicked on late for a lot of us. But to those kids that are watching right now, to where you feel it and you're already living this life, you're the deadly one. You're the one. You're the deadly one that everyone's got. Everyone, your coaches, the extension of your coaches look at and be like, keep an eye on that kid. Like, keep an eye on that kid. In 8 to 10 years, wait till you see where he's at, what he's doing. So it's just crazy how life is just full circle.
Absolutely. Brandon, I don't want to hold you up because we're at 10:40.
I got another 5 to 10.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Yeah, cool. Appreciate you, man.
I think what you talked about is really, really true. And the fact that figuring out what your motivation is and what gets you to really take the next steps are key. And how do you do that when you don't feel like doing it? Like, what are some of the things that you might have done when there are days that you didn't feel like being the hype man, when you're going out there, like, maybe you woke up, you weren't feeling that good that day. What, football wise, obviously, right? We've all been there. I used to joke about when I was a senior, UConn, you had these steps to go to practice. I don't know why they do that, but there's a million. There was something like 42 or 8. I don't remember what it was. I used to count the steps, right? And I used to say, like, all right, these steps for me being able to just get in my head all the bullshit, like, all right, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. As soon as I got to the top of those steps,
gone.
I was ready to go. Like, and the guys used to laugh that there were the younger guys that were like, I always say, like, when you're a senior, the freshmen are bopping up those steps, like going right by me. And
they're bounding up them, man.
They'd be like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "I'll be all right in 35 steps." Like as soon as I get to that, and then boom, it would be like, how do you turn that on? I was like, you know why? Because I said to myself, get all the bullshit out right now, and then when you get to the top, it's time to go. Like, it's time to go. You got to get yourself ready to go, and everything else doesn't matter. What are some of the techniques and things you do to be able to push yourself through those times that are tough?
So for me now, it's scary because it's just a light switch now. Like, now I just, like, even the Giants personnel know, like, if I'm just over and just sitting down quiet, not to be like, are you okay? Like, you're going on in 5. Like, you're okay.
Don't do that.
Now they're just like, let him cook. Like, he's just waiting.
Needs his time. Give him his minute.
Before, I always think about, when I retired and I fell flat on my face in LA, I needed all that extra money, to take these classes. My boy was living in Van Nuys. Again, I told you guys I was sleeping on his couch. There was a time where my phone bill was about to go off. My Mercedes was about to be repossessed and all. So we went on Craigslist and we put some money together. We bought all these Chihuahuas, like all these dogs off Craigslist. Bought like 10 of them. Went out to Santa Monica Beach Pier, and flipped them, sold them, flipped them. Made all this money. Met these girls that night. They're from somewhere, European girls or something. They had this party that was going down in Malibu that they knew. So we hung out with them for a bit, and then we all went to this party. Get there. I'm talking mansion, like looking at the water and all this. We're partying. We end up staying the night because we partied, had a great time. Woke up the next morning, get back to his house, back on that couch. And it was like, from that moment right there, I'm like, dude, like you have this it. Like you're it. We got to get you off this damn couch, bro. So anytime. So going forward from there, it would be like, when the Giants first floated the opportunity of, hey, you want to be the MC, or I'd get the opportunity to MC somewhere else or to be on camera or to do something. I always say, I text my boy or I text my, a family member, because they've been in that pool house and stuff. I go, I ain't going back to that couch. Like, I'm not going back. I got a Super Bowl and a Grey Cup ring, and I'm sleeping on this small little couch in Van Nuys, California. And I say, like, in my day now, like, anytime, like, I mean, again, I can turn it on and off, but if it's something else, I'm like, I'm not going back to that couch. Like I for damn sure is not going back out to that couch. So sometimes your lowest moments are your biggest moments in life because you reach some success, starts getting puffed out a little bit. We start thinking our stuff don't stink. And we start thinking that, oh, it's all uphill from here. Nah, man, it's
still gonna.
Is a roller coaster. Success is an absolute roller coaster. So that damn couch, man, then I'm not going back. I'm not going back to sleeping on that couch. So that's
and I think that's extremely relatable, right? Like everybody has a couch. Everybody knows a moment when they were just literally, and look, everybody's rock bottom is different. Some people have had to bounce harder than others. Some people have gone lower than others, but everybody has that moment, hopefully, right? Younger than later, where it's that eye-opening moment in terms of like, look, I see what I want to do, and I'm going to do this to get there. And even when that doesn't, like, if that doesn't work, I'm going to just keep grinding and going. And I think like the whole thing of it too is even like, you know, some of these younger guys, he's got this offer. I don't have any offers. And man, just do you and just continue to work hard because like be where you are because that's what's going to work out. And hard work beats everything. It might not be the overall extreme, amazing outcome that you had, but it's going to be positive for you and it's going to put you somewhere in the line to get what you want eventually. So just work hard and continue to do that. But extremely relatable. Everybody's got a couch, bro.
Yep. Yeah. And you got, but you know, the crazy thing is like a lot of people use that couch to cripple them. Like, I know they just
they start crawling under the cushions, right? Or like, hey, maybe if I take this couch and move it to that wall, it'll be different. Like, man, you're still on the same damn couch. Like,
and they use it as like there's like everyone wants to tell about what hurts them now. Like this hurts me inside and all. But just like you said, Coach, everybody got a couch. Everybody has a couch. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing
curse,
new.
By the way, on our YouTube.
Yeah, you're good, bro. You got free reign, bro. Profanity flies on this bad boy.
But it's like those T-shirts. Nobody cares. Work harder.
Yeah, and it's literally what it is. Right?
I'm sorry. People tell me I'm not the most empathetic person in the world. Sometimes
that's a great way to put it, B. Because I got that too, right? Like some. It's horrible, but like, oh, you know, my grandma passed away. How old was she? 91. Oh, well, you know, like we've all had boys that were 22 and passed away. Like, all right, like feel it for a little bit, understand it, and now let's work. Like, and I always get that a little bit. The empathy part for me, because look, we've been on the couch and we've been to that point where we've bounced back and we've figured things out. And like now to me, it's hard for me to understand like why you don't want to, like, why do you just want to stay there? Like, you don't have to be miserable. Someone that's constantly like a negative person, it's like, man, like just look at the positive side of things and things will start to turn up. Even the smallest wins, right? Like the smallest little things within a day could change your entire trajectory if you want it to, right? Now, if you want to stay in misery and have people like, oh yeah, poor you, you know, you didn't get that offer because, you know, all your coaches don't put you in the right spot or this and that. Like, stop listening to enablers and do what you want to do.
That's what it is, man. That's why Mark Trestman, I was going to go back to the NFL with him, man, before I messed up my knee. But he used to always say, don't tell yourself a story. Coach doesn't like me. Oh, they're not throwing me. Don't tell yourself a story, because at the end of the day, that opportunity is going to come. That opportunity is going to come. That moment to where it's like, who's been working, who hasn't been working. The separations and the preparation, all the cliches we can throw out, whatever. Life is going to life at the end of the day. And it's like, you better be ready.
I like that one. I'm going to steal that one. Life is going to life. I'm going to steal that one.
Life is going to life, man. Life is going to life. And like, if you're not ready for that opportunity, everybody else who don't, the untrained eye can be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, it's okay.
Right. Because there's a ton of those people. There's more of those people that are willing to tell you honestly the truth, right? Like, there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to tell you, yeah, you should have an offer from there, or you should be playing this, or you should be getting the ball more. Like, the people that these guys need to understand that really care the most about them are the ones that are going to be honest and be like, hey, man, like, you're not like, you're too slow. You don't catch, you're not consistent. You don't really work hard. But if you do those things, you could probably get there. Like, those are the people that they need to realize, like, maybe I'm going to, again, like, don't buy into all the other stuff. Do what's different. And you don't have to be that person. Be boring, you know?
And or maybe it may be true that you are those things, ability-wise. And what you said, people don't care about what you're thinking about, right? They're worried about what they have to do each day for the most part. It's the rare person that does think about what you're thinking about. And if you have that person in your life, you know, family member or other outside people, keep them in your life. But for the most part, they don't. So you have to kind of work from that perspective is, what do I have to do to get there? Regardless of whether I am there or I'm not there, I've got to figure out, maybe I have to work hard. Maybe my talent's not as good yet. It may be I am pretty good, but I'm not getting myself in the position for people to notice it. What am I not doing there, right? Maybe I go to a camp and I'm so introverted that I just go do my thing and I don't talk to anybody. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, unless that 40 you ran was 4.4, okay, you better go and interact with some people, because if you don't interact with people, they're not even going to know you're there. You might as well not even have come that day, right? So
100%.
Those are important things, and I think that you know, I look as parents, right? We're all parents now. You guys have young. By the way, I miss the days of the baby. You know, I miss it was my guy now 9, and he's starting to, like, he thinks for himself now. So that becomes a whole different challenge. But he's great. But he thinks for himself.
He is good, dude. He's good and pretty talented, Brandon. Pretty talented, dude.
Yeah,
okay.
But he's good. He's good as far as, like, he will listen. But it's funny when you're young, when they're little, they're great, man. They just want to hug you, and they want, you know. But it is something that is constantly a challenge as parents to be able to have empathy for your kid's situation, have empathy for what he or she is feeling, and then to consciously say, hey, we got to move forward. That is really, really hard as a parent. And the parents that are able to do that and help their kids through that, ultimately, eventually the kid will get it. Everybody's timeline is different, right? But you want to get it as early as they can. But it is the most difficult thing as a parent is you feel how your child feels. Like I always said, when like I hugged my kid for the first time, I was like, it was like a soul connection that you can't explain. Like there's no person until they have kids, right? That, and you know this, and Derek knows it, until they have kids, you can't explain to somebody else what soul connection is like when you hug something that is, you know, of your blood, right? For the first time. And every time you hug them, and like the truth is, at 9 years old, it doesn't change. Like I still feel that same connection. You know, he doesn't hug me quite as tight, but you still feel that connection. And I think that's an important thing, that you have to be able to feel that connection, and then also go, what is best for this child? Yeah. Like, what is best for them, even though they may fight me on this. Your spouse may fight you on it, right? And you have to figure out how to work that together, because ultimately it helps them have a chance. There's no guarantee. Have a chance to be successful, right? You know, so.
And it's the same thing a good coach does. Like getting coached hard or getting coaching is not the coach doesn't like you. It's when your coach stops. It's when he stops correcting you. Is when it's just like,
tell my guys that all the time.
Whatever, you know. And nowadays we take everything. Obviously, there's ways of doing it. You know, that Bobby Knight, rah, get up in your face.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Throw chairs. That's kind of gone. But if a coach is upset with you and showing frustration, that means he cares. You know, she cares. and she wants better out of you, especially if you're one of those kids who you've gone to the coach and be like, Coach, how do I get better? What do I need to do? And he kind of gave you the blueprint, and you're doing the complete opposite of what she's saying. But then you're still upset, or you do something wrong and cost the team because you're still doing it your way.
Still in your field.
Of course, I'm going to blow a gasket and be upset. So, I mean, it's just ways, I believe, like, and that's why, Dave, if you ever need me, man, like, work with the kids, whether it be on camera training or anything, or just come in and talk to the kids. Like, that real talk has to be there, because they're looking for too much highlight reel. Like, a lot of kids are looking for too much highlight reel.
That's all it's about now.
Let's go get dirty. Let's go get dirty in the mud and really build something. Whether it's your brand, whether it's your on the field, off the field brand, whatever it is, let's go get dirty and build. Like, that's what coaches want to see. That's what if you control an NIL and I'm giving you $50K, do you think I want you blasting, like, N-word in your highlight reel and the music?
In your like, that's the first part of, like, when I click on your Instagram, and like, it don't, like, again, you never know who's watching, and you talked about it, right? Like, you never know who you're interacting with, who could be just scrolling across your page or whatever, and all of a sudden, like, now I see that. Well, I don't care how fast you are. I don't care what you do. Like, this is going to ultimately set you back from where you want to be. So pay attention to those little details, man. Bad
business. Like, a bad image could be worse than a bad 40.
Because that's hard to change, right?
You should start a business on that. I'm always thinking from my business standpoint. You should start a business. I don't know the market on that, but you should start a business on helping kids present themselves the right way.
Yeah, dude, like the way they should, like their image, right? Like, here's how I want to come across, almost like like a publicist almost.
So I've kind of started that with Stony Brook. I go to Stony Brook and I'll do some more on-camera stuff, but I'm kind of like, I'm waiting for shouldn't wait, but once Big Mike retires, like, we're going to go on a whole, like, tour, do some stuff like father-son.
Do it, man.
Good idea. And stuff, but
get after it, man.
He's been trying to get me to on-field coach, and I'm like, nah, man. I'm
not doing that. You're like, hell no. I get to wear this nice suit all the time.
Yeah, man. But I'm getting into content coaching and, like, teaching kids, because it's more than putting up that highlight reel or dancing on TikTok. Yo, if you're getting $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 from a brand, they want you to be able to speak on things. They want like, you're the same as Jordan for Nike now, or Jumpman. Like, it's the same thing. It can be Johnny's Chicken and Waffles, but at the end of the day, you represent their brand. Yeah. So now
if you're getting paid, right? Like, now I'm putting money behind. It's like a lot of these guys, they think this NIL thing's like great, but now, like, my man, I'm giving you this money. Like, you're going to be here at 5 a.m. working out. You're going to be eating this. Like, I'm not sure that so many of these guys really understand that now. I'm putting money to you. Yeah, I gave you a scholarship back then and, like, some t-shirts and some cleats, like, and I expected you to be a student athlete, but now, my man, I'm putting, like, some real money into you and your family. So, like, you are going to do what I say. You know what I mean? I think that's like a big thing too.
You're the face of our business now. You have to come to this event and be around our sponsors, our donors, our clients, our customers.
You say one thing wrong, we're losing a lot of money.
We're losing a lot of money. So I don't think a lot of them understand the responsibility that comes with the change now. The landscape is done.
A great way to put it, to responsibility. Like, you have other things other than just being here now or playing football. Like, you have a lot more. You're going to come to this donor, like, you know what I mean? Like, this alumni thing. You're going to do this. You're going to do all these other things, and you better come here, and you better know how to speak.
Yep.
And you better know what to say and what, or more so, what not to say.
Yep.
So, I mean, look, that's an awesome idea to kind of jump into that world, because that's only going to increase with the more stuff that these guys, the responsibilities they're going to have off the field. And I think that's ultimately what takes you beyond, because, you know, everybody wants to get to the NFL, but, you know, not for long, man. Like, you ain't going to be there very long anyway. So you better figure out life after it. I just heard Justin Tuck talk on the Pivot podcast about his whole role post, like, football. Wow. Right. Like, and talking about setting up that success, man. But listen, I appreciate you, man.
No, it's a big thing. Like I deal with the Yukon Collective, and they talk about like when they put money into a player and he doesn't succeed, what do they do? Like, how do they invest in their players? How do they choose who they do it? And Yukon has a unique collective on the hoop side because I don't know if you know who the D'Amelios are, the two girl TikTokers.
Yeah.
The father, they're all like gazillionaires now. The father went to UConn a little bit before me, but he has a huge collective for UConn basketball. And that's one of the things he's done with the basketball side, not as much the football side, but the basketball side, is try to help them with their understanding of their image and how they come across. Because I don't know if it's only him, but he's putting tons of money into the players at UConn to be able to help them with it. Obviously, UConn basketball is out of this world, men's and women, but that's it's interesting because we're seeing it because we have on the football side we have a different collective, and the way that the things are done, we're trying to get them to get more money to continue to raise more money, but the players also have a part in that. Their performance, how they interact, how they interview, all that helps us raise more money, right? Now we're winning games this year, so it's actually helping. But it's all part of like an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem that is no longer just you don't play games and nobody sees them anymore. Like with all the different channels, with all the different social media, everything you do on and off the field is going to be put out there at some point.
Everything.
So you want to know where you're putting that. No one's saying don't have a good time, but everyone's saying, hey, it's going to be put out there. So recognize what you put out there and
have the right time.
What that means, right? And you see it. Look, you see it in the NFL when Deebo Samuel gets into it with the long snapper. What's the first thing that goes up? That whole thing, right? When they get into it with each other. When a player gets into it with a coach, when a coach is over the top on the field, right? What do people put out there? When you don't do the job, a defensive coordinator has a bad day, quote unquote. LSU, I use this example, dude. Everybody's all over LSU, all over the head coach, because you can't have a bad day without there being an actual thought or reason behind it. Like you can't just go out and have a bad day and not have an answer for why you had a bad day. You actually have to have an answer now. Why did you have a bad day? Okay, I was injured. I didn't play well. As a coach, why did you we could pull up clips on everything. Like an average person could go out there and coach who knows a little bit about football, okay, or coach could go out there and be like, that defense was not going to stop Jalen Milroe. What made you think that you were planning in that way? And everything's under scrutiny. So it goes all the way through the ecosystem, coaches, to players, to media, everything you do. That way you have to figure out how you want to come across, right? And you can have an I don't give a shit attitude too. That is one way to come across, okay? There are people that will like that, right? But you have to understand how you're coming across and what you're trying to get accomplished. That's an important thing in what you do. I don't want, are you okay? Because we want to.
We appreciate your time, bro.
No problem, man. No
it's
problem.
Great having you on, Brandon.
All right, no problem. Dave, I'm gonna reach out to you, man. Let's talk, man. Let's talk.
You have myself. Reach out to me.
Hey,
all right.
Coach Derek, man. Nice to meet you, man.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. I'm glad, man. I'm glad we got the time. Go do your thing, man. Look forward to stuff in the future.
All right, brother. See you soon.
Be good, buddy.
All right, that's great. There's 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon. There might be 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I might almost have like a few degrees now, like of Coach Schuman.
Bro. I mean, look, and listen, like I was around when he was still around. Like one of his last probably events was like probably one of my first ones. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the pseudo like changing.
Did you work?
What's that?
With EJ and stuff? Did you work any of the events with EJ?
Yeah, I not with EJ, but I worked with Brandon.
Oh, you did? Oh, like the All-Star Game stuff?
Like some of the All-Star Game stuff. I remember we kind of did like we did one in Parsippany, and that was kind of like his, like, you know what I mean? Like you could, like, they were kind of like, hey, what are we gonna like? What's the next move? You know what I mean? It was kind of like we were just trying to figure out like which way it was all gonna go. And I think at that point, those guys kind of were like, I don't know if they were burnt out from all the stuff that they had been doing, or just transition in different parts. You know what I mean? Where it was, but look, like those guys, like you said, like they were like they all swear by you, right? Like you laid the foundation for them to just go be successful in all the worlds that they did, you know? So listen, it was awesome. I always like, you know what I mean? Like, I love that he was like, dude, like there are always going to be people that are like, yeah, you won a Super Bowl ring on the practice squad, but like, I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like just leverage whatever you can leverage to get where you want to go. And nobody's going to ask those questions or do any of that. Like you also have to look at him, like coming from the world he came from in terms of like my dad's a high level football coach, right? And all of those types of things. Like he had some extra pressures on his, you know what I mean? Like having to go to Fort Union, all that. Like there's a lot of pressure when your dad's a Division I coach and you're not getting what you should because of whatever. Like you got to put it all together. And like he said, like, I'm glad he talked about that. You can see that he owns like, hey man, I didn't do it right. I should have listened. I should have done it this way. Should have, could have, would have. But like, I didn't let that hamstring me and I didn't let that hold me back from going forward. And I think those are the stories that more of these kids need to see or people need to hear. Just everybody in general, parents, student athletes, coaches, all this other kind of stuff is like everybody figures it out at a different point, right? And then but if you preach, work, keep your head down the grind, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't worry about all this other nonsense clicks and that stuff. I think he said it like, be boring. Like you're going to see more successes from being boring than you would doing something else, right? Like, because look, we all want to be cool and everybody has to do that. The guys that can find that happy medium or know where to cut it off because like, hey, I have bigger goals in mind, right? Like I'm trying to get to that next level. I want that. Whereas a lot of these guys don't want that. So surround yourself with those like-minded people or trust in it, and then you'll be successful.
I'll tell you an interesting story. So, we've had this YouTube page for a long, long time. Okay. Literally like 2008 or 9. A couple of times in like 2009, 2011 or 12, we'd have a video that would go viral, like 1 million views or, a couple million views. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to capitalize it by doing this, this, and this. And it would get like 100 views. And I was like, oh, screw this. Like, I'm not like this, but I'm like, I'll just keep making videos and we'll just figure it out. And then we started doing some different things. And then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, like maybe it was 2019. I had another video hit. I'm like, oh, maybe I should start, double down on that. Double down on it. Nothing happened, like literally. And then all of a sudden, like, we're doing those podcasts for a long time. Nothing was happening, right? We're doing them.
Yeah, we're over 100.
Yeah, we were doing them for a long. It wasn't until like the last 30 or 40 that we started to get there, right? So, we're doing it for a long time. Listen, I was running. You probably see it if you go on a podcast. I don't remember what I called it, like leadership or something. I mean, I did
legendary leadership.
I did like 100+ episodes. Like one of them went viral, almost nothing other than but it was just, and then all of a sudden things start hitting. It's like, you can't try and figure out.
There's no algorithm to like it. There's no equation. You got to do X plus A, but that equals, it just happens. And it ultimately, like, you enjoy doing what you're doing and you're doing it for the right reasons. Like, I think it works out. That's, that's how I think at it.
And then it could change. Just like it could work out for a while and then maybe it doesn't, right? So just,
and then you have to pivot or you have to do something different or you have to kind of look at some of that, like, which is why, like you said, you're always constantly looking for the next whatever, right? Because you have to be ready for when it does, like, happen. Like, I think a lot of people realized that when COVID hit. Like, oh shit. Like, now what?
I love Modell's. Modell's is gone. I love Sports Authority. Sports Authority is gone. Those are much bigger companies than anything that we're doing, and they could not change, right? And you could go through you could go through thousands and thousands of companies, right?
And think about some of these companies that were uber successful.
Right.
Like
GE was the biggest company when I was going through college. GE was the company everybody wanted to work for. GE wouldn't even sniff my resume, okay?
fucking Bell Atlantic.
And now they're basically like nothing. I mean, they're nothing. So, who'd you say?
And look, Bell Atlantic. I was like, Bell Atlantic. Like,
oh my God. I mean,
doing Radio Shack. Like, I could just go to like.
Yeah. So at one point they did everything right. You know what I'm saying? And then
like whoever bought into like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Facebook, Twitter.
I always call the yogurt chops, right? The yogurt chop. Remember when yogurt was like the fucking you were in line to get yogurt? You know, like I'm like, why is everybody standing in line?
You just see a lot of things that are like trendy, right? And like that's why, like to me, like I always just play the long game. Like if this is this, you know what I mean? Oh my God. And then people jump all over, right? Like Peloton.
Oh, Peloton.
Right. Or then, you know, remember Tybo?
Yeah. No, Tybo.
Right. Like,
yeah,
dude, these are trends of things that go, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like you wait it out. And even that, like, you know what I mean? And you kind of look at it like sports too, like what Nick Saban built at Alabama for all those years. When are we going to see that again? Right? Like you could look at it like we thought it was going to be Dabo to do it at Clemson. What happened to them? You know what I mean? Like
right.
the trends of those things, like these things happen. You kind of have to roll with it, figure it out, and then just do the best you can. And ultimately, like, hopefully it works. But look, it was awesome. I love talking to guys like him though, because you know, to make that move from football to the media, you know what I mean? And then and look, like he said, like, I think it's really cool that he's not just like one sport, or he's not just football. Like, I love the fact that he's like, you know what I mean? He's like Michael Strahan. He's like Nate Burleson. Like these guys go and now they're doing more than just sports. Right. And then even if they're not, like, all right, you do another sport. Like I get being excellent at your craft and really good at one thing. But when you can now like expand and hit on different, I don't know if genre is the words, but like different thing. It's like being a coach, man. I'm much more marketable if I can coach more than one position, or I can do any of that other stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's the method to like, that's where you make yourself more marketable, because sometimes like or coming up, I made sure I did all of those things. I sat in on meetings I shouldn't have been sitting in on to learn more, so that when the time came, hey, I'm a Swiss Army knife. I can do whatever you need, coach. And then just get better at that individually as you go. But do everything. Be a sponge. Learn as much as you can about everything to make yourself more marketable.
I was shocked, literally, like, that I enjoyed a political show as much as anything else I do, maybe even more, just because I could talk about like my thoughts on things and just
right. Because most times you have to hold those things in, right? And now you get to. And it's like, yeah, I feel that way too. And you're like, oh, wow, there are people that think like me.
Yeah. But what's interesting about it is, if we didn't have this casual conversation at the end of a sport, it was literally the guy they were hosting a sports show and I was a guest on it.
Right. And they just kind of threw something out there.
One guy said something about politics, and I kind of made a joke. I said, don't be asking me about politics unless you're ready. And all of a sudden they got into it. Like we got into it and it was great. It was fun. It was great. And we talked about and all of a sudden the guy who now it's big on our channel, you know what I'm saying? But originally it's much bigger actually on our channel than I think even on but the radio host of that show or whatever, the net, what do you call it? The radio channel. They were like, hey, will those two guys be willing to do a political show?
Right.
I was just a guest on this sports show. Like I'm occasionally a guest on it, you know, like every once in a while. And the host was like, I'll ask him. Like, I don't know, you know. And we were like, yeah, we'll do it. That's how it started. And
that's how most things start, dude. Like he said, and listen, it's a great thing. Like even he said, you never know who you're talking to or who your audience is. Like, you know how many times just being cordial or just ultimately being who I am, right? In terms of just like, I can chameleon it. I can fit in a lot of crowds. I can do all those kind of things, but you never know who you're talking to. And before you know it, oh yeah, I had a conversation with that person. And you're like, oh, like you don't even know who they are, what their status is. That doesn't matter because you're just in your element. And that's just like what you do. And you're just that type of person all the time because, it's what you do when nobody's, I had a coach one time always say like, it's what you do when nobody's looking. Right. And it's like, that's the thing. Like, yeah, obviously everybody wants to flip the switch and play on Friday night and be that guy, but like, it doesn't work like that, man. Like you got to build to that. Very few people can just flip a switch on Friday night and be fantastic.
No doubt about it. It's the key, dude. All right, we'll end on that. A great ending. Went for 100 an hour and 10 30 minutes. I figured it would probably go.
I bet you he's gonna get yelled at a little bit, but you could see him get right back into it. Like he was juiced. I mean, come on, he's probably got a busy schedule with what he's doing, especially in season. So when he was like, "Hey, no, I just like," and look, he'll push everything for the guy that like kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like guys that do right by certain people, man. Like, and he gave you a lot of kudos, which it rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? Like that's awesome. Talked about your little tree, yeah, buddy.
That's interesting. I never even thought about it like that, but yeah, it's just it is fun seeing what they're doing. Like it was fun. Like
there's just so many guys in so many different spots, dude. It's so
like,
cool.
You don't know him. My son's like, you don't know him. Like,
well, I know that you're like actually like you don't want to know some of the things I know about him. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
that's very true. Very very true.
All right, man.
All right, let's go.